Well, with the potential for heavy rain tonight into tomorrow, I thought it would make sense to do a Facebook Live discussing some of what we're talking about in terms of rain totals. I know that there's some events going on here in the next 24 hours. U of L I've spoken to on several occasions. Also, I know we've got I think it's a 4 miler tomorrow. So a lot of people are just curious about the how much. And I think part of that comes from the fact that WPC has a slight risk of excessive rainfall for tonight through tomorrow. So before we start the Facebook Live tonight, just a reminder here, we're on Facebook, we're on X right now, and we're streaming on YouTube. And you can join us on any of those channels. If you're just joining me on my Facebook Live, a couple things that are really important here. If you're on my page, 111 of you watching right now. So this is something I mention with almost every live I do, but when you guys share the video, it helps me to reach more people. So let's just say you have 100 people following you. So of the 111 people that share, now that would mean 11,000 people are going to be alerted. Hey, Mark's doing a Facebook Live discussing potential for heavy rain. If you're interested, jump in. And if you're on X, you can share it there. I think you can. And YouTube, obviously, you could just post the link. But specifically, if you're on the Facebook page, do me a favor right now. Just click the share button and let your friends, family know that we're discussing potential for heavy rain and the timeline tonight into tomorrow. And I'll give it about a minute or so we can get everybody in here. Also, if you guys appreciate the Facebook Lives or the YouTube Lives or the X Lives, you can always throw some thumbs up and hearts across the screen. Before I jump into this, I want to discuss one thing here because I know a lot of people are curious. The National Weather Service in North Dakota today declared a tornado that occurred on June 20th, EF5. So you're like, why would they do that 4 months later? They went back, reassessed damage, and determined that they could justify damage indicators for EF5. Now, you're going to see people saying we haven't had an EF5 in 12, 13 years, and technically that is accurate. One thing I just want to mention about this. So when we rate tornadoes, we rate them by the damage they do. What happens if the winds are equivalent of what an EF5 tornado would be, but it doesn't do, it's over an open field? Or what happens if it's over a mobile home? What happens? It's a fair question. We're not going to rate those EF5s. So I just want to mention this because it's kind of making the run online. I think, and probably every meteorologist on planet Earth, believe that we've had EF5 level winds since 2013. Some people believe that Mayfield was an EF5 tornado. What we lacked in that particular tornado is damage indicators that allowed it to be classified as EF5. So it is, because it's a damage scale, it puts us in a sense in a bind sometimes in terms of how these things are rated, because the same winds, if they go over a well-constructed home and completely sweep it off the foundation, and I'm talking a very well-constructed home, it would be EF5. If that exact same tornado only went over a mobile home, it could never get EF5 tornado ratings, because the scale is a damage scale. So it creates some of these interesting challenges. But as I noted, the National Weather Service went back. Now, some people are going to say, is this going to open the door for the Weather Service to go back and look at Mayfield and Dawson Springs, maybe give that an EF5 rating? Maybe they go back to some of the Mississippi tornadoes we've had since then. Maybe they give those EF5 ratings. I don't know. But it did open a can of worms in a sense that I don't know exactly how this one's going to unfold. But to me, going back 4 months after and giving an EF5 rating, to me, opens the door to, you have to do that for others. So anyways, I just want to discuss that. So, all right, again, share the video if you're just in here, and let's go into discussion. So number one, we've got rain out there right now. And part of what makes this so important is, as you can see, we've got drought in our region. And the drought is moderate drought for parts of Louisville. That is our highest population center in our viewing area. But that said, it's not the only. So this does include Shepherdsville, Mount Washington. The moderate drought goes through Oldham County, including, let's say, Crestwood, south of LaGrange, south of 71, just west of Shelbyville near Simpsonville, and then it goes into Henry County near Eminence and Newcastle. Just north of Madison, also included in the moderate drought, east of North Vernon in moderate drought, north of Seymour, north of Bedford, Indiana. And then we have a second area that would include just east of Hodgenville to near around Springfield, to, let's say, Horse Cave. And then we have severe drought in the southern part of Kentucky. And these areas really obviously need rain. So the fact that we do have some rain in our area is quite important because we need to try to work on this drought. How do we start to cut into drought? It's a really interesting question. So drought is caused when we have subsoil moisture that is deficient. Top of the surface is where the surface would be. Subsoil, just off the surface. What happens when we go very dry is that topsoil basically turns into brick. You've walked on it, you've seen it, you know what that hard topsoil is. So what has to happen is you have to soften that topsoil so the rain can infiltrate down to the subsoil and really do work on the drought. That's what's important. The rain we saw today effectively did that. And you can see E-Town now is already up to 37/100ths of an inch, and that is on this calendar day. 0.15 in the Clarksville area. You're at 0.32 in the Litchfield area. 0.72 in Campbellsville, and that is the king right now in our area. Campbellsville, you have the highest rain total of anybody in our viewing area. As we look at Metro Louisville, you can see 0.66 in the Sellersburg area, 0.43 at the airport, 0.3 in J-Town. LaGrange, you haven't done so well at 0.08 of an inch. You've seen 0.24 in Valley Station. Corydon, you've done beautiful at 0.38, and in the Fern Creek area, 0.33. So we're definitely seeing enough rain to soften that topsoil, which becomes very, very important. And there's quite a bit more rain out there. And let me make this a little bigger so you can see your town. North Vernon, you've got rain ongoing right now, moderate rain. Probably feeling that, hearing that hitting the roof on the house. Nice to see that. Metro Louisville, we've got great rain moving into county again. Charlestown, you've got rain. A little bit of a closer inspection on Metro Louisville shows we've got rain ongoing right now. I'll just give you some zooms here. West end of Louisville, so this isn't going to include areas like Shawnee, southward through Shively. You've got good rain ongoing right now in PRP, Valley Station. Steady rain in the rest of the county. I just actually got back from dinner before I did this live video, so I can tell you it was coming down at a steady pace. And here's another area where we have solid rain ongoing. You can see Thixton going right through here near Fairmount, Glenmary. These areas north of Mount Washington doing well on rain along 44, along the Jefferson-Bullitt County line. That's good solid rain ongoing in addition to what we've already seen. Rain extends west through around the Tell City area, and we've got rain southward, including areas like E-Town, and then steadier rain moving northward out of Litchfield into more rural parts of western Hardin County. So that's kind of where we stand right now in our rainfall. In motion, you can very clearly see there is a steady area of rain near us right now, and then there's a pause. So I do think that probably around 2 a.m. we're going to go into a pause, and we'll look at the data, which will then allow more rain to increase as we go towards tomorrow. But this is the wider view. So if you watched me last week, you heard me say normally storm systems like this produce about 1/4 to 1/2 inch of rain. I said that when you have what we call a clean front coming across the area, the rain's normally transient and doesn't last for several days. So obviously the data has changed a little bit here, right? And what has changed is that disturbance near Little Rock. So that disturbance has access to Gulf moisture. Who cares? Because Gulf moisture is going to bring more rain. When we get heavier rain, it either has a Gulf connection or a tropical connection this time of the year. The last one had a tropical connection with Tropical Storm Mario. This one has Gulf access because of that disturbance. And what that is doing is bringing the moisture in. It's setting the plate so that when that front comes across the area, it's got a lot of moisture to lift, and it is going to generate rain. And that is an important one. These dew points have gone way, way, way up around our area. So getting these dew points to rise into the 60s, and it's not just at the surface, it is over multiple kilometers of the atmosphere, is really something that's important for us to get solid and beneficial rain out of this. And that is exactly what we see, is good solid moisture over a good column of the atmosphere. So the payday on that means is that now that we have that moisture in the atmosphere, that's going to pay off with us getting some rain in the area. So as we look, this is the view outside in Corydon right now. You can see that rain ongoing in the Corridon area right now. We've got rain in Bardstown. Bardstown, not ultra heavy rain right now, but clearly we do have that rain that's falling. And that's kind of the case around our area here this evening. We have really nice beneficial rainfall that's occurring from downtown Louisville. So if this was torrential, exceptionally heavy rain, trust me when I say this, you would not be able to see those buildings in downtown because we've had this happen many, many times. So the fact that we have the buildings visible in downtown means that we're generally only dealing with moderate, steady rain right now. But back to these dew points, with these surging, this gives moisture available for us to get waves of moderate and heavy rain. So from here, we're going to go look at the data. So the ingredients present, and remember, this one's different than, let's say, a severe weather video that we would do. In a severe weather video, we're going to go through ingredients like fuel to generate severe weather, which comes from warmth and high dew points. We're going to talk about things like wind energy and forcing. When we're talking about heavy rain, the things that really matter traditionally is we need to have a front that was draped across our area, like a stationary front that would activate day after day after day. You're like, well, I didn't hear you say that. Correct. So this is not going to be a high end flash flood producer, but you can still get waves of heavy rain that can generate a lower end flash flood threat. And we'll see as we look. The Weather Prediction Center, WPC, that puts out the risk for heavy rain, kind of like the Storms Prediction Center, SPC, does for severe weather and tornadoes. WPC does this for our rain potential. So in the rain potential category, that is one that they would be looking at. So what we're going to do as we go through this video is we're going to be looking at, are they talking about a high potential for extreme or heavy rain, or are we talking about something that's a little bit lower? And in case you're wondering what I'm doing looking down, so I just got on my computer a alert that the battery is going low. So I'm going to try to turn the brightness down on the computer a little bit with the hopes that I can get the battery to last through the whole video, because unfortunately I do not have the charge cable in here. So as we look at the data and move forward here, you can see top right part of your screen is the time. The data is indeed showing moderate rain occurring at around, now through around 2 a.m. But look how interesting it shows that gap. So after around 2 a.m., it starts to slow down the intensity of that rain. Now, that is something that's important because I think we are going to see, in a sense, a slowing down. And that may include the early part of your commute. The second part of the commute, I don't think that's going to be the case. So if you're leaving after around 7 a.m., what you're going to see here in the data is that rain amount and intensity starting to come back up. So you can see 7 a.m., there we go, my friend. And this is kind of what you need to be thinking about if you have any travel plans mid-morning tomorrow. This is heavy rain that's increasing really, really fast across our area. Includes areas like Louisville, Corridon. It includes areas like E-Town, Hardinsburg, and you can see how that then spreads across our area. You'll notice this version of the high-res data breaks that off, but shows a secondary area developing as the front's approaching. So the initial waves of rain tomorrow from that upper level disturbance near Little Rock, and then that second wave is going to be as that front approaches. So there should be periods with different intensity of rain as we go through the day tomorrow. Now, if you have outdoor plans tomorrow, you really need to know and be aware that anything before 4 p.m. has a high probability of moderate and heavy rain. After 5, and this is a little different in some of the data, so I'm going to say between 4 and 6, Louisville should taper more towards showers. Now, we may get one final push as the cooler air surges behind between 8 and around 10. So this then defines our heaviest rain potential starting on Tuesday in our southern counties around 5 to 7 a.m., in Louisville around, let's say, 7 to around 10 a.m., and lasting in Louisville through around 4 to 6, where most of this is going to be gone once we breach around 11 p.m. tomorrow night. So this kind of gives you then a window of when the heaviest rain falls, and this is the reason why I thought it was a good idea to do the video tonight. Number one, I have a lot of weather geeks in here that are equally nerdy as me, and I always appreciate my weather buddies in here. So I thought that it would be cool to just do a live on some of our potential here. So the excessive rain outlook from WPC has a slight risk tonight. Slight. It's not a moderate. It's not a high. Do I think we'll see widespread flash flooding or flooding tonight? The answer is no. I don't think so. And I'll make this a little bit bigger, by the way, so that you can see the towns that are included. So in the slight tonight would be Paoli, Bedford, Indiana, Seymour, North Vernon, Salem, through, let's say, around Scottsburg. It would include you in Madison, includes you in the Clarksville area, includes you in the Hardinsburg area. It would include Brandenburg. It includes Louisville. It includes Shepherdsville, E-Town, Litchfield. It includes Taylorsville, includes Shelbyville, would include LaGrange, and also would include Campbellsburg, Kentucky, and also the Eminence area. So this then goes with the slight risk tonight for excessive rain, and then the slight risk for tomorrow goes basically in a line from Madison through around Clarksville, southward through, let's say, near English, Indiana, and then all of our southern counties. Everybody in Kentucky is in the slight risk. Where would I be concerned about flash flooding? More so in Indiana, more so in Kentucky? My answer would be in Kentucky. And I think that if there was to be any flash flooding, tomorrow would be a more likely time frame. So let's look at the data here, and I'm going to show you some of the data here. I love when I can show you data in a controlled environment. And what I mean by that is, I'll just give you an example. I saw somebody posting 2 or 3 days ago that the next tropical system coming off Africa was going to turn into a major hurricane, affect the northeast Caribbean, and then recurve out to sea. And they referred to it as a major hurricane. And then they posted the GFS computer model, which the GFS always shows worst case scenario. That is what the model does best, is show unfeasible and unreliable scenarios. So why would you post that? Well, they posted it at about, it was about, at the time, probably 200 hours into the future. And I saw similar people today posting snow totals from the same GFS computer model 300 hours into the future. Problem is that it has become a thing to post these wild solutions because you're going to get engagement, and ultimately they're trying to pad their pockets with your fear. So that's kind of become the norm. So I don't really post raw computer model data online because I don't want to encourage the behavior, and I don't want to take part in that. It is a disaster. It is a disaster when you scare people and you tell them bad things are going to happen, and it never happens. We all heard the story when we were kids of the boy who cried wolf, and eventually you stop listening. And I have to be clear, I don't blame you. If somebody tells you something bad's going to happen over and over and over and over and over, and it never happens, you ignore. And that has become the norm in the social media era. We call them social meteorologists. But it has just become a disaster for our business. Inside of a video, I feel that I can contain and make sure that you understand fully what we're talking about. So a couple things here. We're going to look at the HRRR computer model. What does this model do well? It's a high-resolution model, arguably the best high-resolution model that we have in the U.S. And I would even argue it's the best high-resolution model in the world. It's good. But it's never going to show you exactly the amount at your town. That's just not what computer models do well. But it's going to paint concepts and ideas. So the model here is showing a 1/2 inch on the very, very low end, which there's not many there. And you can see it does show some pockets of white, which are 3+. Generally, it has everybody in the 1.5 to 3 inch range. Some isolated 1/2 inch, some isolated 3. This, as I noted, is what would be arguably the best high-resolution computer model on planet Earth. The NAM computer model. So this is a computer model that goes out a little bit further. The HRRR is a computer model. Generally, it runs 18 hours into the future, but we do run it every 6 hours, 48 hours out into the future. Understanding the way computer models work is when you shorten the length that they go into the future, that's when they're at their best. When you push them to their temporal range, meaning the farthest they can see into the future, you start to introduce much more error. So the NAM computer model we're looking at into the future, and it's only about 24 hours into the future, which is not ultra far into the future. So for the NAM computer model, this is very much a scenario where it can do well. What's interesting about the NAM computer model is that it shows this much lower area in southern Indiana. And it really is one of the only models that actually shows that much lower amount in southern Indiana. So Seymour, Paoli, and Madison, you can see it's showing a quarter of an inch, where the HRRR had basically 1.5 inches to 3. I think it's worth noting. Hardinsburg, it shows it around the 1 to 3 range. Louisville, it shows 1 to 2 inches. And you can see that includes areas like Frankfort, Elizabethtown, through Campbellsville. So this is a model. Do I trust this model? It's a pretty good model. As is always the case with me and computer models, I use them as tools. I'll tell you what I think on it when it's done, but I did want to show you. Now we're going to look at a combo here. I just think sometimes this is valuable because these two computer models are what we call the synoptics. Synoptic computer models look way into the future. So a synoptic goes out 384 hours into the future. Why? Why if they're completely wrong? It's a fair question. My argument would be is partly because we have the computing power, not locally in-house, but with NCEP. And there is interest sometimes in these longer, large-scale patterns. So for instance, if you have a major mega pattern shift, sometimes it can show out 10 days into the future. But most patterns, and tropical would be an example, you can't tell what they're going to do that far into the future. So the GFS is the synoptic of the American computer models, arguably one of the worst in the world. I hate to say it, but it is just unfortunately a reality. And the benchmark Euro, which is one of the best, if not the best, synoptic computer model in the world, and it is the best. So in Seymour, it has 1.5 inches through around 1/2 inch, depending on where you look. You can see that the GFS and Euro are honing in Louisville at around 1 inch of rain. And you can see south of the river, both of these models are showing more rain. They're showing basically in the neighborhood. Let me make this a little bigger so you can see. In the southern part of our area, they're showing 1.5 to 3. So we generally have one computer model that doesn't show the higher totals in Kentucky, and that's the HRRR computer model. So the interesting thing about that then is, which do we buy? And I think this is an interesting question. What's my thoughts on this? So that one model that shows southern Indiana is getting the heaviest, I think it may be displaced a little bit too far north. And part of the reason I would say that is I think that when you look at the track of where that secondary low near Little Rock is going in the front, one has to assume and believe that the moisture pooling will just be better on the Kentucky side. So I would just note that there's probably a little more uncertainty for areas like North Vernon, Seymour, Bedford. I think you're probably going to see between 1/2 inch and 1 inch. There is some up potential. Louisville's probably going to be between 1 and 2, and I would include all areas along the river. So English, Brandenburg, Hardinsburg, Corydon, Louisville. I would include, let's say, LaGrange. I would include Clarksville. I would include Madison, and then I'd go to Carrollton. Southern part of our area has a little bit more up potential, where I think some may get 2.5 inches of rain, and that would include areas like E-Town and Munfordville and Litchfield, Campbellsville, Columbia. I think you have the greatest up potential in terms of rain totals on this one. So bottom line is this does look like a valuable rain, and I know that there's probably going to be some questions that are very specifically going to ask, Mark, is this going to end the drought? So U.S. Drought Monitor assessment goes Tuesday to Tuesday. Okay, the rain would fall tomorrow. That's Tuesday, right? So the assessment that comes out Thursday will include this rain. It's coming off a period where we were dry for basically, let me see here. We were dry from Wednesday to Monday, so that was about 10 days of dry, followed by good solid rain. Does this erase the drought? My opinion is no. It may move more of us into abnormally dry, but it's probably just going to be a status quo because of that dry period that preceded this wetter 2 days. So I don't know, erasing the drought would be an accurate thing to say, but I do think improving the drought, or at least keeping it status quo, is probably an accurate thing to say. So the tablet did indeed die. Fortunately, I always bring my phone in as a backup so that I can control the weather system through the phone. And we did make it through it, so that was a positive there. And I know now there's going to be some questions, and that's one of the great things about the Facebook Lives and the YouTube lives is I can see all your questions. So let me show you actually on the screen. So when I look off to the side, you probably see me viewing the questions. Justin Bennock is joining us from near the polo fields, and he said he's already seen 1.19. That's a phenomenal number. Pete is saying, is pumpkin spice season ever going to start? Pete, you know me well, my friend. Pumpkin spice season starts again. It did start in late summer and early September. Then it went away for a while, and pumpkin spice season is going to be back for a few days later this week with some temperatures in the 40s. So those are good numbers. Chris Hebert saying rain gauge currently has less than a quarter northwest of Seymour. Appreciate that. Bill is saying, I've got a tee time tomorrow, Mark. I've got a tee time on Cover Bridge Golf Course at 8 a.m. Bill, you might be able to get the maybe a few holes in before it starts to rain. There's not going to be a lot of lightning, but I would 100% bring rain gear. 100% bring rain gear. Chris B joining us from YouTube. He's asking, any severe weather tomorrow or only localized flash flooding? That's from our viewer on YouTube. Chris B, it is only a localized flash flood threat. There is no severe weather risk tomorrow. Good question. Tanya joining us from Facebook on our feed on Facebook. She's saying, thank you very much for keeping us updated on the weather. Of course. That's the reason why the Facebook Lives are something that's cool for us. It is a way for us to do something a little bit different. I'll just show you. The whole Studio C that we created was a way for us to do our streaming coverage in a more professional environment. It was something that was really important to me. You guys have probably watched me do Facebook Lives for a really long time. We did those on our weather system with a camera in there, but we wanted to increase the production value. We know that there are a lot of people now out there streaming weather content. We wanted to bring the professionalism that we've been known to bring on TV into this space. We wanted to expose what is some of the amateur stuff. I mean, I've seen people doing weather live videos from a warehouse, from their basement, their parents' basement. And I would just say some people may say, who cares, Mark? And it's fine. I'm not going to tell you who to watch. But what we wanted to do is bring professionalism into this space. For me, accuracy is something I've spent a lifetime trying to build and make you believe in me. We've gone through, the windstorm with Ike. We've gone through the monumental ice storm of 2004. We went through the hellacious snow event December 22nd of 2004, where Salem and Seymour saw 43 inches of snow, and there were drifts over people's roofs. We went through the tornado outbreak together on March 2nd of 2012. Louisville got hit by an EF3 tornado this last spring, and we went through that together too. And we've gone through a lot of stuff together. And so I just wanted to bring into this space something that is of that level of higher quality weather, so that you guys, if you're looking for it on YouTube, if you're looking for it on Facebook, on X, that we can provide that if that's what you want. So we're here to provide a higher level of service, and kind of similar to what we do in the TV space. Let's see. Chris from X is saying this definitely looks more professional. I appreciate you. Shannon is joining from Springfield, Kentucky. She said, thank you, Mark Weinberg. I appreciate that. How bad is the weather looking in Sturgeon Bay? So in our area, in terms of severe, for our area, I will be clear, I don't think severe weather is on the table for our area tomorrow. John is saying, thank you for all you do. Some people really appreciate it, John. I appreciate that. And look, we do get some negativity. One of the things I have done with my social pages, so I'm just going to be clear, what we're going to allow to comment in these videos are the places where we have moderation control. And what I mean by that is there are trolls out there. They're just people out there to start trouble. A lot of those people I've banned from many of my pages. There are spaces where we have no moderation control, and there can be some stuff put on there that's not appropriate. So we are allowing comments to come from an area where we feel that we can make sure we protect. I mean, I don't know if your child's looking over from behind your shoulder and watching, but I certainly know I don't want to expose them to somebody saying something awful. Second is people that are just rude to me, I ban them now. I don't think that I deserve to be abused. Just like if somebody comes into your work, starts calling you names, you don't deserve that. You should be able to ask them to leave and not treat you that way. And so I generally will say, please be nice. It costs you nothing to be nice. But if somebody insists on just being rude to me, normally I'll just show them the door so that, we can just go on with a calmer life. Jason is asking any ice storm this year. So I'll answer one question about winter because I think that it's a fair question. Do I think it's going to be a warmer or colder than normal winter? I would say right now, with the pattern that we have seen, with some of the global signs that are out there, La Nina is probably going to hold early part of winter. It's probably not going to hold for the second part. We probably will go neutral, which means there's other things that we would look at. North Pacific Ocean temperature anomalies are very, very important. Siberia snow. These kind of things are things that we're going to spend some time on. But my early feeling is probably through the upper Midwest into the Great Lakes is probably going to be colder than normal, which probably will mean more snow. In our area, I do think that we're probably going to be near to maybe slightly below normal. One thing I will mention is Louisville's urban heat island makes getting colder than normal actually at the official site extremely difficult. But that's kind of my thinking on that one. So Wells Lucas is saying we love the new set. I appreciate that. Sherry is saying, Mark, I'm in E-Town. Are we going to get heavy rain or steady rain? I leave for work around 4:35. So Sherry, I'd be concerned wherever you're going. If you get there before 5 a.m., you may be able to avoid it. If you're still on the roads after 5, you're probably going to be seeing heavy rain. Drew's joining us from YouTube. Drew, thanks for coming in here. He said, thank you for bringing these on YouTube. So much easier for me to watch and love the new studio vibe. I appreciate that. Thank you. Let's see. Somebody said the Emmys look so lifelike. So they actually are. So true story about the Emmys. So I'm actually going to read these to you. This is from Mike Petrig. Mike Petrig is one of our creative directors at WDRB. And I told Mike, I'm like, Mike, we want to make the set look a little bit better. Could we borrow one of your Emmys? And I have an Emmy. I have it at my house. It's something that I have one, and that was the only one I really kind of ever have gone for. I think 2 have gone for, and it was hurricane coverage. And so I just was proud of the fact that we had that. So Mike, who's one of our creative directors, says, yep, you can have it and put it on the set. So they are real Emmys. I am a one-time Emmy Award winner for weather coverage. Last 3 years, best meteorologist in the state of Kentucky. And this year was really cool. They inducted me into the Best of Kentucky Hall of Fame for meteorology. Interesting fact to that. I believe I'm the only person that's ever been inducted into the Kentucky Best of Hall of Fame. All the others are entities. Like an example would be like, Maker's Mark or Distillery or Woodford Reserve Distillery or something like that. So I thought that's a cool thing. Somebody joining us, Don's from Buffalo, Kentucky. Thanks for jumping in here on Facebook. Jason is joining us from Facebook as well. Appreciate all these comments in here. Let's see. Somebody said, according to the persimmon seeds, that we're going to have a cold or snowy winter. Is that true? We're going to post about the persimmons. We always do. And we'll post about the woolly worms. The accuracy is 0%. I mean, it's so wrong so frequently that I don't personally trust it. The year, I think it was 2 years ago, when we got 2 inches of snow, the persimmons had shovels, which means tons of snow. And that obviously wasn't the case. So it's kind of an interesting one. So let's see here. Somebody is in here asking for money, so he is going to get blocked. And that is another great thing about the way that we stream these is I have the ability to block people right in the video. So what I would tell you is please don't do dumb things in the video. If you're here to do dumb things, you're going to get banned. And I don't say that in a mean way, but I just say that because every other person in here has a right to have a video that they can watch that is not going to be dominated by trolls. Chris is asking, will our entire weather team be doing these lives? Chris, yeah, we will. So Jude, Rick, Bryce, and Matthew will all be in here doing lives for you. And obviously, as we get into snowy season, cold season, ice storms, severe weather, this Studio C, is going to become very, very active. And what I would tell you guys is make sure you follow my Facebook page. It's, I think, the best experience with these lives. You'll get alerts when I go live. And I think it's just the best way to do these. But Chris, we are going to try our best to keep them on X. So far, it's been somewhat acceptable in terms of what we've seen there. But Facebook is always going to be a guaranteed, as is YouTube. So great question here. So Devin is asking me the first EF5 in 13 years. How do I feel? So 131 people in here. I will answer that. So many of you know, may or may not know, I touched on this in the beginning of the video. In North Dakota, the Weather Service went back to June 20th and upgraded a tornado today to EF5. What they did is they looked at how far a train, for the real damage indicator, is how much wind speed would be required to tip this train over that was full of grain, and then the empty ones move about 475 feet. And they determined that the wind speed would have to be about 210 miles an hour to do that. Is this an accurate assessment? Very likely, yes. The problem is, do I think that this is the first time that this has happened in the last 13 years? My answer is 100% unequivocally no. I believe that there's been other EF5 wind speeds that have not done damage enough to get the indicator. So an example might be, was the Mayfield Dawson Springs in EF4, EF5? I would tell you, who cares? I would tell you that the human toll, all the people that lost their lives, the homes that were damaged, they don't care. Somebody might be like, well, they probably do care if it's an EF5 because that's kind of a big deal. I can tell you, my brother's family was hit by an EF5 in Oklahoma City. It was more. And it was the last EF5 to hit the U.S. in 2013. I've posted before and after pictures. And I can tell you that my brother doesn't wear a badge that says my home was destroyed by an EF5. I don't think they care. I think that most people that suffer from the horrific tornadoes that we see at times don't care what number we assign to it. It does go into the climatology as the first EF5 since 2013. I also don't think it matters. I think that we all believe that there's been two EF5 level winds in multiple tornadoes since then. They just haven't had a situation where they could cause indicators that were high enough to get the rating. Second, this opens a can of worms now, because now do we go back and do we look at some of these other tornadoes with this in mind and reclassify them? And I don't think that's the best idea, but I do think this is going to cause some questions on past tornado ratings. So it's a fair question that I wanted to answer. So somebody joining us, James, on Facebook from Mount Washington. I appreciate you. Thank you for joining. Let's see. Jason is praying for a winter storm. So are you guys thumbs up? Are you out there, snow lovers? Throw some thumbs up if you are. Give me some, let's go angry faces if you hate the snow. I'm kind of curious to see how this is going to fall. We have definitely people in our area that absolutely love snow. And then there goes the thumbs up right there. And we have people in our area that absolutely hate snow. Oh, there's some hearts, some thumbs up, a lot of thumbs up. This is overwhelmingly right now the snow, people wanting snowy winter. I'm a little surprised by this. I thought that the numbers might be a little bit in the other direction, but there's a couple of angry faces. So in transparency, I grew up in a very, very snowy climate. I went through the 1993 superstorm. That's referred to as the storm of the century from before the 2000s. So 1900 to 1999 to 2000. The storm of the century was 1993. There was a mega blizzard. Where I was, we got 43 inches of snow in a 24-hour period. We couldn't get out of the house for 5 days. the plows that went by, because it got so horrifically cold afterwards, would plow the snow to the side, and the snow then turned into these monumental pieces of ice that had to weigh hundreds and hundreds of pounds, where there was no way to get rid of them. So we were blocked in the house for 5 days. Eventually, we were able to chisel out of the driveway and then just break those pieces apart to get out. But after that, I mean, I am transparent. I've seen enough snow for a lifetime. So, you know, it is what it is. But I've seen a lot of snow. So, but at the same time, I mean, look, I'm not a Debbie Downer. I know we have a lot of snow lovers in the area, and all I'm trying to do is get the forecast right. No personal feelings, nothing else. Just try to get an accurate forecast. Joining, Lauren says she's joining from Facebook. I watch you and your crew religiously. Definitely the best around. Thank you. We appreciate that. And what we have, like I said, have tried to do is just bring professionalism into a space where there's a lot of people doing this in their basement. And we just want to do something that's a better quality, where you see we have a full studio. You'll see we have the ability to show you multiple cameras. So let's just say we have active weather going on. Top right on your screen is going to be current radar. You'll be able to see every storm. The bottom left, I can put anything I want in there. I can put a tower cam. I can put future radar. Right now, I've got a model rainfall. You can see 4 cameras outside. I can make those cameras whatever I want. And this is going to give us the ability just to show you in more ways than really you can do, and some of the other streaming. And the reason I'll tell you we can do this is quite simple. We have a production board. We built a studio, and we have a soundboard where all of this stuff is production professional quality of what we do at WDRB. So we're very, very, very fortunate that we could do this. So I appreciate that you guys are enjoying them. Crispy saying, if tornado ratings are generally unimportant, then why do they exist? It's a fair one, Crispy. So my opinion is that we need climatology. How often do EF4s exist? How often do EF5s exist? How common are EF3, EF2, EF1, EF0s? It does there is a level of importance to all of this. But if you're asking what's the difference between a high-end EF4 that produced 195 mile an hour winds or a low-end EF5, let's say it's 200 or 205, what's the difference? It's 10 miles an hour. I mean, seriously, that's a 10 mile an hour breeze. What's the difference? And that's what I would say is it doesn't matter. We tend to focus on whether it's an EF5. It's the elite of the elite. But in reality, a high-end EF4 and low-end EF5 are going to do the exact same amounts of damage. Somebody's saying I'm waiting for another 1993 level snow. Angry faces are not going up for me. A lot of thumbs up on that snow. Chris saying the audience is much bigger on X. Fair. So Chris, I mean, like I said, we're going to be in both places. Let's see. Keep up the great work. Appreciate that. Sherry saying hate the cold. Steve's asking about weather for now. Any localized flooding? Steve, I wouldn't rule it out, but to be transparent, I think that it would be localized. The Weather Service didn't put out a flood watch, and they didn't put one out because we don't think that this can cover enough real estate to justify that. So I think, and that's to say they did the right thing. So if we get them, it's going to be very, very, very few. All right, so 3 more questions here, and then I got to get ready for the news at 10. I would always remind you guys, if you share the video, and please do so, what happens is the video goes out to more people. Even after the video ends, you can still watch these lives. So that's one of the beauties of the lives, is sharing. It means that more people can come in. They may just not have been aware at 8:30 to 9:15 we were doing a video, and they may want to come in later. So share if you guys appreciate the videos, thumbs up, and some hearts if you're on my Facebook feed. And let's answer 3 more questions. So Jamie is asking, is there a tornado risk tomorrow? I thought it was just rain. So Janie, no tornado risk tomorrow. This is only rain. And there may not even be much lightning and thunder, but I would note that there is an isolated rumble of thunder or 2 that is indeed possible. Denise is saying, I just got in here and I'll rewatch it. So yeah, that's the reason why the sharing is really important. Any other questions? Let's see. Callie is saying some of the Facebook weather people are saying expect strong wind gusts. Of course they are, Callie. They're going to tell you to expect strong winds on every storm. They're going to tell you that there's going to be flooding. They're going to tell you that hurricane, which is going out to sea, is going to hit the U.S. They're going to tell you that that monster snow 500 hours into the future is going to cripple your town. They're going to tell you that the computer model, the only one that shows 300 hours into the future a tornado outbreak, is factual. You need to watch me or you're going to die. They're going to do that because it's in their best interest. And they're making money off your fear and getting you to watch those videos. And there is a solution. It's block and unfollow. Because I'll tell you this much. If someone's going to try to monetize my fear, I am out. That is not cool. Fear is real and it is not a comfortable feeling. So to push people into a space that's uncomfortable solely to get their watches and their attention so that they can make money is uncomfortably bad. Could there be a couple of wind gusts tomorrow? Yes. Severe? Absolutely not. It's not even worth talking about. But could we get some 10, 20 mile an hour winds? Sure. And you're probably like, Mark, we get that all the time. And I would say, exactly. Okay. Let's see. One more question. Here are two more. Will it be raining still around 8 a.m.? Melissa, that's from Melissa on Facebook. Melissa, yes. Very heavy rain, especially Louisville, southern Indiana south. That the northern part of our area, if you're in Seymour, North Vernon, or Bedford, not as much. Last question here. Callie is saying she has storm anxiety in this area. It's not a question, so I'll give one more, but I get it. And there's a lot of people that do. And to try to make money off your anxiety is dirty. It feels kind of disgusting. But that's what the Facebook weather is. You see it over and over and over again. And what I have done, and I have blocked almost every one of those pages from having any access to mine because I don't want them in there. I don't want to see that stuff in a feed. I never want to see it because it's incredibly frustrating. Last question here. Mary saying, thanks for keeping us informed. Passionate about getting the forecast correct. So it's a statement, but I will say, look, all I'm trying to do and all I've ever tried to do is get the forecast right. I'm not a perfect human being. If I can get the forecast right every time, I would love it. I believe I probably have a 90-95% accuracy rating. We get the forecast right so consistently, but I'm not infallible. I don't have any illusions of perfection. But what I can promise you is that I will give 100% of my effort every single time to get the forecast right, to not try to make it more or less than what it is, but let it speak for itself. If it's a quiet weather pattern, I'm going to tell you that. If it's an active weather pattern, I'm going to tell you that. If I think you need to go to your storm shelter because I'm worried about your life, I'm going to tell you that. If I think it's not that level, I'm going to tell you that. Ultimately, in the beginning and the end of all of this, this is a handshake between you and me. You trust me to give you accurate information, and I earn that trust by giving it to you. If I break the trust that we hold as a group, then all of this blows up. I've built a lifetime on accuracy and trying to get it right, not on being more sensational, not on any of that stuff, by being a passionate guy that loves weather and just tries to get the forecast right. So for everybody in here, if you guys love the videos, thumbs up and hearts. If you enjoy them on YouTube and on Facebook and on X, just comment down below. Let me know that you guys appreciate these. Just a reminder, I'm on WDRB News at 10 o'clock tonight. I'll be starting my at 10 o'clock on the rain that we currently have. As I walk out of Studio C, I'll be walking back into Studio A, analyzing data, looking at updated rain amounts for tomorrow for your location. So I know people are wanting more and more specifics, and I'm going to do that with new data because it's going to allow me to do that. At 10 o'clock, 10:22, and 10:37. Trust me, stick around till 10:37. For those that have been wondering where fall is, I'll be talking about 40s with high temperatures in the low 70s and how long it lasts, which I think a lot of people are like, woohoo! From there, I'm going to end the video for tonight. I appreciate everybody in here.